Morning, everybody. Welcome to another Face Your Fear Friday. What I want to do is talk today about forgiveness, because forgiveness is something that's deeply misunderstood in our culture, and it's something that, without even knowing it, I think we all have a lot of fear around because of the misunderstanding that forgiveness means to let other people off the hook, and it doesn't. Forgiveness is a way of letting yourself off the hook from all the baggage that you've been carrying around in relation to the situations, events, and things that you didn't prefer in your past. Things where you were wronged or betrayed or slighted. Those things happened and they're valid and they're real. But to forgive means for you to let go of them for your own sake. Forgiveness is not letting anybody else off the hook. It's not saying that what happened to you is okay. And it's not saying that you're a doormat who's going to allow it to happen to you again. Forgiveness is a way of becoming empowered and taking your power back. So when you sit in unforgiveness, you actually can attract those same things to you again and again and again. Because rather than seeing what wound they're touching in you and allowing your awareness to well up so you can heal, you're just holding on to the idea that it should have been different. So the major myths of forgiveness. One myth is that you're letting somebody else off the hook instead of yourself. It's actually the opposite. When you forgive, you're letting yourself off the hook. The other myth is that forgiveness is equal to making up, and it's not. Forgiveness is a solo act. It's something you do for yourself, for your own sake. You don't have to make up with the people that wronged you, especially if they haven't gone through their journeys of change or transformation. Forgiveness doesn't mean to re-allow toxic crap back into your life. Quite the opposite. Forgiveness is letting go of all the toxic crap you've been holding on to in relation to the toxic crap that happened to you in the past. Okay? So with those myths in mind, I want to give you guys a 5-step process that you can go through to allow forgiveness in your own life. And I'll apply it to how I've done it in mine. So step 1 is to drop your resistance to the idea of forgiveness. And the way you can drop your resistance is to incorporate this new understanding and to overcome those myths, to incorporate this new understanding that forgiveness is for you and by you and for your own benefit, okay? When you understand that, you can drop your resistance around, oh, well, I can't forgive them. They were wrong and they're not sorry. Forgiveness does not require other people to be sorry, okay? Forgiveness simply requires you to be sick of living in the state of being you're living in, where you're holding grudges and holding on to past wounds and holding on to victimhood. Because when you are in a state of unforgiveness, you are literally, vibrationally, and actually holding on to the negative states of being that you would prefer not to be in and not to re-experience. So for your own sake, do step 1. Drop your resistance around the idea of what forgiveness means. Forgiveness is not giving your power away. Forgiveness is taking your power back, okay? That's step 1. Step 2 is to live fully in the present moment. In the present moment, I want to put it like this. The present moment is where your power is. And so holding a state of unforgiveness is literally living in the past moments. A state of unforgiveness means you're holding on to the results of the events that happened to you. So the events that happened are, somebody slighted you, or somebody wronged you, or somebody betrayed you, and then you had emotional experiences as a relation to that event, as a result of that event. And by holding on to unforgiveness now in your present moments, you are literally living your life in the past instead of living in the present moment. So step 2 is to try to bring yourself fully present to your moment now, even if in that moment now you feel all of these negative things about the past. It's okay, but don't live them. Don't live in the past. Don't relive the past in that way constantly all your life. Try to bring that past experience into your present moment, okay? That's step 2. And then step 3 is going to seem like a paradox, because step 3 is to relive that past experience. But I'm not saying to live in the past. I'm saying in the present moment, relive the past experience. And here's why. Because you can relive that past experience from your place of new awareness. And it's not just reliving it for no reason. It's reliving it with this question in mind. How has this experience made me better, stronger, or more aware? Okay? So when you can take those past experiences and pull them into the present moment, don't relive them in the past, from that experience, from the emotional charge around them. Pull them forward. Pull them to where you are now, with the new understandings and new experiences you have now, and ask yourself this question: how has it made me better? How has it made me stronger? How has it made me more aware? And sit with it. Sit with those uncomfortable feelings until you see and can understand the gifts that have been given to you around those experiences, okay? For me, one of the biggest things I had to learn to forgive in my life was my father, who was like a total, complete deadbeat growing up. And I don't want to get into all the details, but really terrible, terrible stuff to me and my siblings. And there's a lot of us. So he had like 11 chances to get it right and blew it on all counts. And I'm the baby, so I was the 11th one, and he still blew it. So it took me a while to understand that forgiveness meant to free myself from expecting it to be different than it was. This is the definition of forgiveness, right? To give up the idea that it could have been different. And once I was able to do that and give up that idea, I was able to open my awareness to more of the things that I gained through the experience of having a deadbeat dad. It made me much more self-sufficient. It made me much more likely and prone to going inside to find comfort because I wasn't finding it out there. And those things are huge gifts now because I'm so in touch with my inner self. And I have to say, thank you, Dad. Thank you for playing your part in my life and not being there for me so that I could learn to be there for myself. And it took me a long time to get to that place, but those are pieces of wisdom that I found and have taken with me my whole life because of the gift I was given through the troubling experiences of my youth. So being able to forgive those set me free. It didn't condone my father's behavior, and it didn't let him off the hook. It let myself off the hook. He has to live with the fact that he screwed it up with 11 children, not me. That's something he's going to live with. That's the beauty of the reality and the planet we live on. Justice is something that is enacted every second in every moment on every person because you live with the results of your choices. You do. You all do. We all do. And so the person who wronged you is living with the results of their choice. If they don't seem to care on the outside, let that go. That's not your problem. What is your problem is that you're living with the results of your choices. And your choices to hold on to those resentments, hold on to those wrongs, hold on to those betrayals are dragging you down. Not them, you. Okay? So re-experience those past wrongs from your present moment place of strength and find and discover what the wisdom was, what the gifts were, what the strengths were that have been given and bestowed upon you, okay? That's a new way of reframing these wronged experiences, and it will aid you in the forgiveness process. Then step 4 is to hack your inner narrative. I talk about life story hacking a lot because life story hacking is something that's accessible to all of us. And in order to hack your life story in this regard, you have to separate out the facts of the situation from the story you're telling yourself about the situation. So in my example with my dad, the fact was he didn't visit me very much. The fact was he didn't ask about school. The fact was he was cold and distant. The story I told myself around that was that I wasn't lovable, that I didn't measure up, that my life is crappy because I don't have the picture perfect family that I kept seeing on shows like Growing Pains growing up. Well, it was okay. Those were just stories, okay? And when I went through this process and separated out the facts of what happened to me from the stories I was telling myself about what happened to me, it gave me a lot more space and room to sort of try to create a different definition of myself and a different reality for myself. Back in 1997, I went to see my dad in order to tell him I forgave him. And this is one of the other myths of forgiveness, is that forgiveness is something you have to go and do. And you don't. You can just forgive from your own place. You don't ever have to tell another person that you forgave them. Here's what happened to me. I said, hey, Dad, I want you to know I was 19 or 20 at the time, and I was like, I want you to know I forgive you. And we had been estranged for like 2 years, and I hadn't seen him much, and I said, I forgive you. And he was like, oh, well, I don't think I see what I have to be forgiven for. And that blew me back big time and set me back on my journey of forgiveness because I was expecting the forgiveness needed to be completed by him accepting my forgiveness and saying he was sorry. And that's not the case. That's not how forgiveness is completed. Forgiveness is completed by you just deciding, which is step 5. Step 5 is once you've gone through the other 4 steps and you have an expanded awareness about how your wrongs and betrayals have strengthened you and improved you and can continue to do so and make you more valuable to the world, then step 5 is just to decide to set yourself free. Just decide to let that go. The other person doesn't have to be sorry. The other person doesn't have to be told. The other person doesn't ever have to know. Forgiveness is a solo act. You can do it for yourself, and you can take back your power now. After my father told me that, he didn't think he had anything to be forgiven for. Something popped into my head. I don't know what it was. I don't know why. This flew out of my mouth, and I said, "Dad, do you love me?" And he paused, and he stopped for a second. He took a breath in, and he said, "Son, I care for you." Wow. You know? So the universe was not going to give me from the external what I sought so deeply, which was love. I wasn't going to get it from my dad. And for 20 years, we didn't talk and we didn't see each other. And I carried a lot of that around. And only in the last few years have I really done this work and forgiven him. And since doing that, I feel a huge difference, a weight, a light, a lightness, all of that. And it's real, and it can happen for you too. And it's because you have to do it for yourself. You don't do it for what reaction you're going to get. You don't do it for what might be completed or healed in the relationship, because it might not be that way. You might be dealing with a psychopath, and that's okay. Their choices are valid. But what's important is that you have the power to take your power back right now, immediately, by forgiving. So try these 5 steps and see what it does for you. Quick epilogue to that story. I went to see my dad last year. Not to tell him I forgave him again, and not for any sort of reason, but simply because I had forgiven him. He's very old now, and I thought I'd like to see him one more time, and just sharing with him some of the filmmaking stuff I was doing. And we had this great moment where he asked if I was seeing anyone, like a female, and I said, "Oh, no, I'm gay," you know, and he was like, "Well, oh, that's an okay thing to be." And it was like super supportive, and he's senile now. So like pretty much every 15 minutes for the visit that we had, I had to keep coming out of the closet to him. And that was just a hilarious sort of punchline for me at the end of this journey with my father, where I realized, like, I don't know. It was just a beautiful moment of having to continue to relive this moment from my childhood of coming out of the closet to somebody who I had finally forgiven. Just felt like a hilarious cosmic joke. So you can change your perspective around the very dark, painful, and terrible things that have happened to you. And you can't always do it alone. If you need therapeutic help, you should seek that and you should find that. But try these processes and go through them, because you would be amazed by how much self-empowerment is inside of you. We are made of atoms. We are made of nothing but power. Okay? So enjoy your solo act. Forgive and let go and live fully. Face your fears. Happy Friday. Much love, people. Much love.